Man, this is not an easy video for you to make. Not because of the editing or light setup or anything like that. That was the easy part. What's hard is that I'm putting a very vulnerable version of myself out there on the internet. But I'm also doing it to keep myself accountable. I'm putting every single goal that I set for this year out onto the internet as the ultimate form of accountability. So this video is hopefully an encouragement to you, but also, and more so, a video to my future self, so that a year from now, January 18th, 2026, I can look back at a video of myself speaking intention and vulnerability and action over my year like I've never done before, and be proud of the person that took action in 2025. About 15 minutes ago, I finished what might be my last wedding film that I ever actually edit, that I ever actually film, sent it off to the couple, and sitting down and recording this video to my future self, to you as an encouragement, just felt right. All of a sudden, this weight was lifted off of me, of obligation, of things that were holding me back in 2024. And although I've talked about everything that I'm gonna do this year in much depth with my wife and a few friends and a lot of time spent on my own, all of a sudden I can look completely forward. And so Monday, January 20th is when my year starts. And the fact that that'll have been 20 days since the beginning of the year blows my mind. Almost a full month, almost 1/12 of my year already gone. But I'm gonna view my year as starting January 20th, 2025. The alignment experience and a wedding videography retreat took up a lot of my mental space and time, my energy over the last couple of weeks, and finally I'm able to sit down and think about the future. So I hope this video is an encouragement to you, as well as a future version of myself, as I lay out everything that I'm wanting to do very vulnerably and very honestly in this video. So before going any further, there's one thing that I want to address, and it's that I'm not making this video for anybody to congratulate me or affirm me on the things that I'm talking about in this video. The reality is that this video is for a future version of myself, but I do know that it can be a trap to receive affirmation from somebody before you've actually done anything on this dream. I've noticed with myself that if I tell people something that I'm wanting to do and I get a good job, or that's awesome, or go get it, man, you're incredible, whatever it is, there's a slight percentage, and I can't figure out how to quantify how much less of a percentage, but there's a slight drop in my likelihood to actually do it. There's some sort of affirmation that I'm getting whenever I talk to people about my future dreams and goals that isn't conducive to me actually following through with them. And so I would also encourage you, whenever you're setting your goals, be careful who you tell them to. Don't just go around telling the world about this person that you want to be, because you're not that person yet. And you don't want to decrease your odds by just spewing it to everybody around you. Make sure that you're telling the right people so they can keep you accountable on the good side of things and the bad side of things, to make sure you become that person, because you're not that person yet. And you shouldn't be going around telling everybody that you are. And so everything in this video is not me. It's somebody that I want to become. So with that out of the way, you might think it's time to plunge straight into 2025. But something that's really important to me is to look back on where I've come, to be grateful, but also take ownership of the failures and mistakes that I made in 2024, and also take ownership of the good things that happened. 2024 was by far the biggest life change that I've ever had. I got married back in July and I've been living in North Denver ever since then. We've been married about 6 months. A lot of interesting things kind of happened this year that kind of threw me off. I had an opportunity to shoot a documentary and I was very passionate about it and ended up following through. That really hurt my soul. That really hurt a lot of my desires surrounding documentaries, and it's something that I'm working on right now, but that really threw me off in the beginning of the year. I also saw a big shift in my desire for what I did with my work happen this year. I no longer was satisfied only doing wedding videography, or even doing wedding videography in general, or even doing wedding videography education as an income source. And so here I am, January 18th, 2025, and to be honest, I don't know where I'm going from here in regards to income. We'll get to that in a little bit, but lots of things happening this year with jostled dreams and life changes like getting married, moving houses, changing properties into rental properties, going to the Arctic, changing career paths, wanting to change income sources, lots of different things that were both good and bad. But without getting too deep into what my 2024 goals were, I definitely didn't do a good job last year. I felt like there was a lot of laziness. There was a lot of excuses made around, oh, well, I'm planning my wedding. Oh, well, I'm getting my office ready. I'll get to the work eventually. I was making movement, but I wasn't taking action on who I wanted to be, that I said I wanted to be in January 1st, 2024. And so I'm taking ownership of the fact that I was lazy this year, that I said my goals at the beginning of 2024, and I kind of left them there in a Canvas slideshow that I presented to some friends. This year, I'm printing them off and sticking them on my office wall so I can see them every day that I walk in. So I'm reminded of who I want to become and why I set these goals. And that's a big thing that I've learned over the last year is not just setting arbitrary goals, but setting goals for who you want to become. Figure out who you want to be, figure out who you are, and then set goals that align with that. Didn't do a very good job of that last year, but moreover, I also set goals for things that I couldn't control. I set follower count goals. I set YouTube subscriber goals. I set financial goals. I set blind, arbitrary goals that were dreams that just kind of made me feel good in the moment saying them. I was like, oh, this would feel nice to do. And so while there is benefit in dreaming and giving yourself space to think of a life to where maybe you can't figure out how to reverse engineer it right now, so it does remain a dream. The bigger point that I'm trying to make is this year, as opposed to last year, I'm setting goals that I can control. I'm not setting follower count, YouTube subscriber, goals like that. I'm setting things that I can take action on. Waking up and recording a video, waking up and recording a podcast, writing, reading, going to the gym, putting content out as best I can, as often as I can, but not holding myself to this unrealistic standard of I can't control how many subscribers come into my YouTube channel, my Instagram following, or even my income as an entrepreneur. So with all of that said, I'm taking ownership of the good that happened last year and the bad, and hopefully learning from that. I always want to be iterating. I always want to be pivoting, and I always want to be learning that I can do more than I did before. I think that's the best way to live the human experience, to look at past data of your life and then iterate from there. So 2025, the way that I'm approaching 2025 this year is actually much different than I have in the past. Instead of sitting down end of December, early January, and trying to future cast the next 365 days, I'm gonna take it in 90-day chunks. I'm gonna break it up into quarters. And because quarters sounds a little bit too 9 to 5-y for me, I'm gonna call them volumes. So right now I'm in 2025 volume 1. And over the next 90 days, that is what I'm gonna be focusing on. You might be familiar with the book 90-Day Year, but the basic premise is that we have a much better idea and have more control over something short-term like 90 days, rather than trying to figure it all out for the next 365 days. As I saw last year, a lot of life changes can happen. A lot of things can go on that can really throw you off from where you were January 1st of the year previous. So 90-day blocks, taking stock of who I am at the beginning and at the end of these 90 days, reassessing, iterating, becoming better, and working off of what I saw in those last 90 days. So my milestones, my goals for 2025 are broken into 2 categories. The first will be the 90 days. What am I doing over the next 90 days between January 20th and March 20th? And then I have some other overarching goals, things that I know are going to happen later this year that I want to do well, or other things that are dreams that I want to keep on my office wall as I go through this year to remind me of the things that I said I wanted to do this year. So something I did at the beginning of this year that I believe is a healthy exercise that I would encourage you to do as well is to write this statement down and write whatever flows from it after. What limits me in becoming the best version of myself? What am I doing in my day-to-day or week-to-week? What habits or toxic traits or addiction is keeping me from doing what I want to do, from becoming the most powerful version of myself? I think this is really important to cover right now before getting into lifestyle changes, because this is something that I write on this little piece of paper, my goals I'm going to stick on my wall to remind me of the things that I might be doing day to day that are limiting me from becoming who I want to become. But doing this exercise makes you come face to face with reality, if you're honest with yourself about what is keeping you from getting your goals done, from taking action on things, from getting up and having the energy to go out and do. And that's where mine start, is my energy levels. Whether it's drinking at night or not eating right or staying up late, my energy levels affect my ability to go and work or work out or do the things that I want to do in this life. My mood is another one. Often in life, we have things that affect our mood, and often we wait to take action until our mood is in the right place. But you might have heard the quote before, mood follows action. So this year, I'm confronting the fact that I will no longer let my mood dictate my action. I will let my mood follow the action. Alcohol is another one. By no means am I an alcoholic, but I can drink 1 beer at night or have a glass of wine and have a little headache in the morning. That throws me off. Not waking up feeling perfect, feeling ready to go for the day is detrimental to the trajectory of what I'm wanting to accomplish with that day and with what I said I want to do with my year and my goals. So I'm keeping that in mind as well whenever I'm making these lifestyle changes. House task, this is a big one. I work from home, and so it's easy for me to stand up and go and work on something that needs to be worked on at the house. If you live in a house or even an apartment, you might know that the list is ever growing and never ending of the amount of things that we need to do that we might actually enjoy doing that can distract us from getting things done or going to the gym or going to sleep, whatever it might be. I want to make sure that I allot certain time to do house tasks. Now, I've also noticed that I have a proclivity to stop when things get hard, whether it's in an edit or working on a website or trying to just do anything with work. I can get up from my chair and go in here. I can take a nap. I can jump on the Nintendo Switch and play a game. I can go outside. I can figure out a house task to work on. I can do anything other than work. I can easily escape. I'll flip onto my phone if things get too hard. I'm really good at running away from the work whenever it gets hard. I've also never really been great at a morning routine. Over the last year or so, I've done a lot better at getting up early and actually making sure that I'm ready to start the day right, but it still hasn't been a routine to set me up for success that day. Moving forward with my lifestyle changes, I'm actively implementing things to make sure that I'm starting the day strong and as powerfully as I can. And lastly, distractions. I kind of hit on this with house task, maybe something else. I might have mentioned the phone, but my phone is the biggest distraction that I could possibly have that limits me from actually doing what I want to do. And then the second biggest one is my FOMO, my fear of missing out. If I get invited to do something, if Liza wants to go do something, if she wants to play a board game, whatever it is easy for me to say no to what I know I need to be doing. Not to say I'm just going to say no to whatever she's wanting to do or say no to friends all the time. Having relationships is incredibly important to me, but I also need to work on the things that I believe I need to do in my life to become, again, the most aligned version of myself. All of those things are what I can observe right now with what limits me. With that said, let's dive into the lifestyle changes. The biggest thing that I'm doing over the next 90 days is pivoting my lifestyle, changing my routines so that they're more conducive for a healthier and more powerful version of myself. So I got my phone right here and I'm about to read off all the different things that I'm wanting to change in regards to my lifestyle or do better at in regards to my lifestyle and daily routines going forward. Some of them are things I do every day. Some of them are like 4 times a week if it's working out. Others are trying to do something 1 time a week. But what I am going to do so that I make sure that I continue to do this and hold myself accountable in other ways other than friends and making a video to my future self is I'm going to write all these on a whiteboard with check boxes. I'm going to have percentages. I'm going to have 1 of 90 complete as far as days. I'm going to have a Notion document. For me, this is a way of sustaining motivation because motivation fades and motivation is really helpful to have as you go through these things. And so just any sort of little hit that I can get that helps keep me going, reminding me of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it is the reason why I'll do this. And so I'll have a checkbox for if I didn't drink alcohol one day. I'll have a checkbox if I read that morning or if I meditated. I'll also have a percentage. I'll also have a 1 of 90. I'll have 3 different places that I'll write something down, check a box on a computer. You can think of it almost as double dipping satisfaction as you complete something. So you get the satisfaction of actually going to the gym, but then I come home and mark off on my whiteboard that I went and worked out today. And so for me, it works really well. It's another way of keeping myself going whenever I set goals. And so more or less, here are the things that I'm wanting to change or get better at in regards to my morning routine, evening routine, or daytime routine as I go through these next 90 days. I'm not going to get into where in the day these might fall, but I'm just going to give you the list and you could probably fill in the blank with where that would go. Every day, I want to wake up, drink water, meditate, write. I've learned that I love writing. I want to learn Russian every single day, whether it's Duolingo or talking with Liza. My wife speaks fluent Russian. She's from Belarus, and I want to be able to talk to her family better. I want to read every day. I want to work on improving my mind and growing and learning more about what I'm passionate about. I want to work 5 days a week at a minimum, 1 morning chunk and 1 afternoon chunk. No alcohol over the next 90 days. Again, this is something that really limits me. I've learned that I love to public speak, so I'm going to start taking a public speaking class. I don't know where, who, when, online or in person. I don't know, but I'm going to start taking one over the next 90 days. I'm going to assess the day every night before I go to bed, whether it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes, however long it takes. I'm going to go back and look at what I did well, what I didn't do well. I'm going to work out 4 times a week. I'm going to take 1 day a week to read, write, create YouTube videos, work on a podcast, whatever it might be. I'm going to take 1 audacious move every single week. Again, very broad, but that's what I'm going to do. And then again, because I love to speak, I know I'm not the best in the world, but I want to learn to do it better. Every week, I'm going to try to find a speaking gig to where I can go and flex the muscle of public speaking. So I just mentioned that there's going to be this morning and this afternoon work time during the days. But if I'm not doing the wedding videography, I'm not doing the wedding videography education anymore, what am I going to be doing? Well, there's 4 different things that I want want to be working on in this season. They are motivated by the fact that I believe they bring me life, and that I think that I bring something to the table with doing these things. And it's something that maybe could grow into something that could generate income for me one day. But for now, I do have the luxury to be able to work on some things over the next 90 days that will bring me life, that I've seen clues of inside of me that have excited me to want to do more of. And those 4 things are a podcast, the alignment experience, social media and planning, YouTube, and looking for some other form of income generation. Now, looking for some other form of income generation is very broad. But if I've learned anything about myself over the last few years, it's that I'm really good at sprinting. I'm really good at a challenge, and I'm really good at working with a small amount of time to create something great. I know I have a lot of skills like building websites, videography, speaking on camera, sales, email lists, social media, lots of different things in my arsenal that I want to try to create space to learn how to use them to create income in a different way that might bring me life. And even if I do create income in an area that doesn't necessarily bring me life, it can be the funnel so that I can focus on something else like speaking or making a podcast or YouTube. It can be the funnel that it gives me finances so that I can actually spend my time focusing on what brings me life and what I think will bring life into this world through me coming alive. We'll see what comes from that. Very vulnerable putting all of this out there on the internet. But again, this is what I'm wanting to do for the next 90 days, and we'll see where it takes me. That's the next 90 days. Might not seem like a lot to you, but for me, not drinking alcohol for 90 days, reading for 90 days in a row, writing 90 days in a row, meditating 90 days in a row, going to the gym 4 days a week, all those different things day in and day out for 90 days, 3 months is a long time. And I know that if I do all of those for 90 days, there's gonna be some awesome things to see at the end of those 90 days. So again, this is where I'm starting. January 20th, we'll reassess March 20th, see how it went, figure out where the problems were, see what limited me, see what was unrealistic that I set, and then iterate so I can do it better in volume 2, the second quarter of 2025. So let's move on to the broad goals. Let's move on to the things that I already kind of know that I'm going to be doing or want to be doing with my year outside of the 90 days. It might happen in the 90 days, it might happen after. First one, I've been learning that I love space. So to scratch that itch, I'm gonna go to Florida and watch a SpaceX launch. Pretty simple. If you've ever seen me do anything, you know I love the Arctic, and so I'd love to go on an Arctic adventure twice this year, not including the Rome, Iceland retreat in 2025, but the next one on the list is to do an incredible job for the attendees of the Iceland Rome retreat, to give them the best experience I possibly can, to start working much sooner rather than later, as I might do with a lot of things in my life, to make sure it's an out of this world experience for them. I wanna learn to play piano this year. It's been over a decade since I've touched a musical instrument, and so I would love to get back into music because I do love music so much. I just don't know how to play it, and I feel like that opened up something even deeper inside of me for my love for music. So I bought a piano, signed up for some piano lessons, gonna try to start going once a week, so we'll see if I end up getting 52 in this year. I'm not holding myself hard to that standard, but I would love to learn the piano. You did maybe see that I didn't have piano on the 90 days right now because that's a lot of things in my book to be making sure that I'm doing every single day. Like I said, I wanna learn Russian. I wanna be able to speak better to Liza's family. That's a easy one to say, much harder to do. I want to go on an awesome anniversary trip with Liza. I am 33 years old. I waited till I was 32 to get married, and I'm so glad I did. And I want to treat my wedding with respect and celebrate the fact that we made it through a year of marriage. Even though it's amazing, it's hard. And I want to make sure that we relish in the fact that we did this incredible thing to renew our vows to each other and to go and celebrate our marriage together. You might know if you've seen anything on my YouTube channel, but I love my backyard. I love my house. I love my chickens. I like the garden. I'd also like to learn to raise honeybees. Just an interesting dream of mine. I love little things like that. I get kind of fixated on different little hobbies and stuff, and honeybees is my current one that I'm just starting to learn about, and I need to start learning now because spring is going to be here before I know it. And then I have a fun one, and that is to fly my drone across the USA. I have this dream of getting sponsored by DJI, and if somebody steals this idea, go for it. Whether it's Washington to Florida or California to New York or even Alaska down. I don't know if I'm gonna do it. I just had the idea pop in my head after seeing somebody else do something similar on a skateboard, and I was like, what could I do that was a challenge, just like riding a skateboard across America? And so maybe DJI will sponsor it if I reach out to them. If you wanna join me, I'm gonna need a driver, so let me know. So that's what I have right now. This is by far the most open-ended year that I've had in a long time, maybe close to a decade. And I'm very thankful for it. I'm thankful that I'm waking up and not just doing something because I've always been doing it. I'm taking considerable time this year to stop, to think, to think about where I'm at in life, to take action on what I find whenever I am thinking, to not just settle for where I'm at, but to realize that I'm a work in progress and I always want to be growing. And so these milestones this year, these goals are going to help me become more of that person as I go through my life. So one of the last things I want to bring up that I want to kind of speak into is at the end of the alignment experience, we had all the attendees go into a room private away from everybody else and record a video to themselves, much like I'm doing right now, but in a much more condensed version because we had to get through 55, 60 people. And the point of this video was to encourage them with who they saw inside of themselves that weekend, who they decided that they're going to take action on being in 2025. We're going to send it to them in 6 months so they can check in on themselves, so they can see this beautiful, vibrant, excited version of themselves that decided not to just set New Year's resolutions, but slowed down maybe for the first time ever in their lives for 2 days. Took stock of where they're at in life, were incredibly honest, saw beauty come to the surface amidst all the pain and trauma, addiction, noise, whatever's going on in life, and decided to start taking action on aligning more with that version of themselves in this world, to take action on it, to set goals, to bring other people into it. And they recorded a video to their future self so they could be encouraged by what they saw back then. A lot of people spoke into their future selves in a very encouraging way, but there was another group of people that read something that we also had the attendees do, and that was creating an identity statement. Now, the idea of an identity statement might seem weird to you, but I believe it's an incredibly powerful way to remind yourself now and as often as you read it of the beauty of who you are, the beauty of who you want to become, to be honest with yourself for who you are, to take stock of that, to take ownership of it, but to not settle for it, to grow into the beauty of who you see yourself becoming. I wrote one, I actually modified my one that I read to some friends earlier in this year, and this is kind of more of a letter to my future self, and I don't want to watch this again until January 20th of 2026. And so I'm going to end the video as soon as I get done reading this. I hope you've been encouraged by this video. Thank you for watching, and with that, I'm going to dive into my letter to myself, my identity statement for 2025. What would I do if I truly understood the gift of life, the rarity of my existence on this planet, the impossibility of me enjoying consciousness? I've lived 33 years on this earth, and more of it than I would like to give credit to has been spent playing around, distracted, confused, angry, victimized, caught up in the noise. Not anymore. Pretty soon I won't be on this earth anymore, and if I am here now, I have the mind-blowing ability to seize life to the fullest, to enact the most powerful version of what has been instilled in me to impact this world. I am here for a reason. I know it, I know it, I know it. And I will show myself the truth of this in 2025. I will audaciously move through this year, slowly working toward a better and healthier version of myself. I owe it to myself to take my life seriously. No more tricking myself into thinking that I have been. Now is the time to roam forward, to dance through this life and let out the beauty of what I was meant to do here. While wildly unknown what I'll be doing down the road, I have clues inside of me that I will listen to, breadcrumbs of excitement displayed in my mind, emotions, and soul. They will not be ignored this year. Cody Stanton Giles, I need you to do the most with your life this year, to overcome laziness, apathy, lack of motivation, alcohol, peer pressure. Be the exception this year. Don't care what people think. It's what is required to become exceptional. Take action, move. Do what you are called to do. Don't listen to those that seek to advise you down the wrong path. If you feel like you've been audacious before, I hope that when you watch this again, a year from now, that the audacity of the past will pale in comparison to where it leads you this year. Show yourself what you can do. No more excuses. I'm proud of you for how far you've come, but I'm just getting started.